room. And I'm your host, Janet Debra Lessin, with my co-host, Debra DeFranco, and we are here to discuss the latest and greatest politics, current events, politics from a Democratic perspective, COVID-19, conspiracy, crazy QAnon. I called it, what did I say, conspiracy wingnuts and QAnon crazies. Oh, I called them QAnuts. QAnuts. I'll put that out there, QAnuts. So
trumpets and QAnuts.
Chopped crazy QAnuts. Yeah, so welcome, Debra. It's been, oh goodness, months. No, it's just been weeks, but it seems like a long time since I've talked to you. So
I know.
Where do you want to start? Because there's so much going on.
Well, let's see. We could start with the mask mandate that the federal government just passed, that everybody on any type of public transportation is now required to wear a mask.
You know, I knew that was coming, but I didn't know it passed today. So thanks for updating me on that. But go ahead, tell us more about it, and then I've got some comments. Go ahead.
So it starts February 1st. It starts, and it actually wasn't issued by Biden. It was issued by the CDC. He's letting the CDC go back to its old role in providing guidance, right, relative to health issues. And so, that rule was actually issued by the CDC. So it begins February 1st, which is 2 days from now.
Oh, yeah.
Starts Monday.
I'm pulling it up right now.
You will not be allowed on public transportation if you do not have a mask. And on top of that, Dr. Fauci is now recommending, because of these variants that are coming out, that we should be double masking, not just single masking.
Well, I just ordered myself some more, what are they called? KN95, not N95.
KN95.
KN95. KN95s. But, the problem is it takes so long for them to come. But I still have a bunch of the black ones that are, I don't think those are KN95s, but they have the many layers to them, kind of folded and so whatever that one is called. And then I've got these really cute ones with, I like dream catchers and cosmos, the cosmos. And they're in all different colors. And you can put the little pad in it, And then, so I figured I can do the double whammy that way. So, ching. And I put it on my website, Elephants in Our Rooms. The Last Man on Earth. It was a show that came out in 2015, and it was about the plague. It was about the pandemic, and it wiped out all of humanity except for maybe, a small group escaped it, and that's the adventure of the people. They find each other, and then they gradually find more people. But what they said is it began in 2020. This show was created in 2014. It filmed in 2014, and they said, well, the pandemic that wiped us all out began in 2020. And then I was Googling it on YouTube. I was YouTubing it, right? And I said, where are these episodes? I didn't want to watch the whole series again. And I know they had discussions about how it grew. And it had this couple, everybody's dying all around them. And they go, oh, they've got to create a vaccine. They must create a vaccine. And that's where we're at right now. Now, they're creating these vaccines, but then the pandemic, the virus mutates. So are we going to end up like the last man on Earth? It just keeps mutating. And all these people are so cocky and arrogant. It's like, oh, I got it already. No, you got that variation on the theme. Here's the next one.
Yeah, and the one that they're worried about is the one coming out of Brazil. So the city where this variant came out of actually had herd immunity, and a variant occurred yes, a variant occurred, and it attacked the city again. And the antibodies they had from the variant they had before did not protect them.
Mhm. So, we may lose. This is the battle. It wasn't the countries launching nukes at each other. It's these viruses that came in and decided, we're taking out humanity. I don't know. I think we're going to exist whether we're here on the other side, but this is like the Twilight Zone, right? This is like one of those episodes that you never thought you'd actually get to.
Well, I think this is a warning, right? It could have been more serious. As bad as we think it is, this could have been worse, right? This could have been Ebola. So I think if we do not learn our lessons, and it also has a 97% fatality rate. So if we do not learn our lessons from this and prepare for the next one, shame on us.
Yeah, my theory is, and this is way out there, big buck conspiracy, that Donald Trump and company, whoever they are really extraterrestrials, and they're trying to wipe out humanity because they've sold the planet off to another species that is not human. Because this is not.
Oh, you are funny.
I am, but my God, this is not logical. Did you hear about Jared Kushner back in when it was just starting? I think it was in like February or something, a year ago. They had a meeting and they were going, yeah, let's let this go because it's only affecting the blue states. It'll wipe out all the Democrats.
Yes.
Did you hear about that meeting?
Yes, I did.
This is murder.
But guess what?
This is murder.
Guess what? The death rates are higher in the red states because they refuse to abide by the mask mandates. So, the viral levels are now coming down, right? The people that are catching this virus, it's now turning the corner. But I believe it's turning the corner because the Republicans aren't screaming hoax anymore, right? This has now touched everybody in every state on a very personal level. Everybody knows someone who's either gotten it or died from it, right? And that's what it was going to take, when we started. When we started talking about this months ago, and everybody was claiming it's a hoax. We're like, it's because it's not touching them personally. Now it's touched everybody personally. You have a few of your crazies out there that still refuse to wear a mask, but we all know someone that got really sick or died. And now people realize this isn't a joke. It's not a hoax. This is real. And you don't know if the person next to you has it.
Right, and I find myself screwing up sometimes. I have workers, and they'll go, ask you something. So I run out. I go, oh man, and I go, I don't have my mask. And they start walking over. Nope, stay over there. But now they're saying that 6 feet isn't enough. Being outdoors isn't enough. And it's like I said, I better start getting smarter here. And stop running out, because I'm so used to, being able to just go outside and answer questions. I'm like, no.
Right. And you forget, you know what I mean? Like, you go do something that you normally do. Like, I have a disinfection kit in my car, right? And if I go to the grocery store, I go to Starbucks, I disinfect the stuff that's been touched by other people, especially if they weren't wearing gloves when they touched it. But, sometimes just out of habit, you just get in your car and I just forget, right? For a moment, I forget the pandemic exists. And then I'll go touch my face or something. Like my brother had a guest today, and I usually won't come near people, and he was trying to be nice and shake my hand. And I didn't want to snatch my hand back, right? But I shook his hand.
No, I hand that. I'm not polite anymore. I'm not polite. Sorry.
Yeah, and then as soon as he left the house, I ran and disinfected my hands.
No, I had that with the workers. They start walking to me. I go, you got to get back. I'm really like, no, COVID. And then they start going, well, lady, you're going to be okay. I go, no, you don't get to define if I'm going to be okay or not based on your parameters. You stay with that.
Right.
But I'm getting really rude. But I have to because this is my life and there's no do-overs. You can't
and you're also high risk, too, because you've got a history of respiratory problems. Do you not? Yeah, I am
right.
too. That's why I go to the grocery store, and that's about it. I don't go to restaurants. I don't go out. I don't leave this house unless I absolutely have to. And, because I'm taking care of my brother with cancer, I go out to the store and run all the errands to minimize his exposure to the public because his immune system is compromised now.
Right. And yet, so are ours. And they're not really, you would think if people wanted to make money, they would really amp up the delivery to the homes, and they could really maximize.
You
that,
can't.
Right? But
have you tried to get groceries delivered? They're backed up for weeks.
No, you can't. Yeah,
you can't get anything delivered. So I've just given up. I go to the store early in the morning before the stores are crowded and do whatever little shopping or errand I have to do, and then I come home.
Right. And then I've been doing, and these are my home remedies, and I'm not a doctor, but I have colloidal silver and what was it, B-propolis, and that's, I don't know, I do a lot of home remedies, and I say, I kind of do a mantra, I believe in this. This is going to help me. I believe in this.
You know what? My brother actually got it and went to the emergency room, and the nurse there told him when he was leaving, he wasn't sick enough to be put on a ventilator or be admitted. She just told him, keep your lungs dry. And he goes, what does that mean? And she goes, like, take Benadryl or things that dry up all the mucus in your system, and it'll help keep. Yes. And that, I hadn't heard that one. I've talked to a lot of respiratory therapists, and, they've given me old school exercises and things to, keep your lungs clear, but I never thought about that. So that's one for people to think about. She said, keep your lungs dry, make an effort to do that. I don't know if you've ever been congested, and sat in a hot shower, how it breaks up the congestion and stuff. So anything you would do, if you had a bad cold or if you had allergies, do that if you think you're getting it, to try and keep the fluids in your system dried up, and it'll help from, the fluids and the scar tissue buildup in your lungs.
Well, I have lung problems. I was kind of born with extreme allergies and always suffered with, periodically getting pneumonia and having postnasal drip, and always, they thought I had cystic fibrosis. So I've had to really be cautious my entire life. And I've done pretty good because I'm turning 67 in a few days on February 6th. But I found, I loved Leonard Nimoy. He died of COPD. And so I went, wow, that was sad. So I happened upon, this is Amazon, because that's where I do my shopping, because I'm not going into town, right? And I got a thing called Healthy Lungs and one called White Lung, and it's for COPD. It's like a lung support. And I'll tell you what, my stuff has cleared up. I mean, it's not that
really?
I'm 100%, but yes, it has cleared up. And I got my sister on it. We both, had the same genetics, and so subject to the same diseases. So, there's a lot of things you can do and be more proactive. I don't know. I'm not going to get into advice. I just do these things. For me, I always Google everything. And, my sister will get a pharmaceutical. She loves doctors and pharmaceuticals. And I said, did you see what kind of side effects that has? And of course she doesn't. She's just so old school. Like, oh, no, the doctor gave it to me. They must love me and care about me and hope that I live to be 150. I go, no, I'm just mocking her. No. We have reached our expiration date. Once you're over 65, they go, oh, you could die any day, and you have lived a long life. It's like, no. So, if you really want to live a long life, which is like some of those centurions that live to be over 100, you've got to really be, you can't just rely on the third party to decide all these decisions for yourself. Because they don't have it's all about money. Some of them might be more caring, but they don't really know you. It's not like you're their relative and they really give a damn about you. They just have, okay, I want to keep my job and I want to help, but they don't have the same level of care. I know that from my parents. my parents died. It's like at one point they put my dad off the side because he was frustrating everybody, and within 48 hours he was dead, and they let him die of pneumonia. They didn't even give him a pill for pneumonia.
Wow.
They didn't turn him over. You know what they're doing in the hospitals now with the COVID.
Right.
They turn him over.
Right.
They
tell you to
him
stay on
the
your
back.
stomach. Don't sleep on your back. Sleep on your stomach.
Right. Well, yeah, they didn't do that with him, and so he was gone. He probably, he would eventually died. He was 79, but, oh, God. Death. How by now we would have figured this out. See, I grew up in the 60s with Star Trek, and when we were kids back then, we thought that we would be in a Star Trekian reality, sooner rather than later. But there's been so many people that want to kill us off, so it seems. So, anyway, back to the news. Okay, what else do you want to say about the COVID? So there's different variations on the theme. They keep going round and round. We're making these wonderful. Go ahead. Go ahead. Your turn.
There's a new vaccine that's about to get approved, a Johnson & Johnson one, which is just a one-shot vaccine, not two.
But I heard it only has like a 60 to 65%.
Yep. But
rate.
It does. It's a 60 to 65 success rate, but it has a much improved serious illness. It prevents the serious illness, especially from the new strains, including the one coming from Brazil.
So, what are your thoughts on the vaccines? I know we've had a lot of paranoia from disinformation agent. Well, I'm going to ask you one more. I'm just going to and they all say that I forgot the name. Bill Gates is getting rich on all this, and when I watch Bill Gates,
I am legend. I am legend.
Legend. And what do you mean by that, Mr.
I am
Legend?
No, I am legend. That movie with Will Smith where they had the vaccine to prevent cancer. And then everybody turned into those monsters.
Oh, I didn't see that part. I didn't know they all became, when I grew up, I read some of the original books. I think I read I Am Legend so long ago, but it's back in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah,
we could turn into zombie apocalypse. But I think right now this COVID is zombie apocalypse. And I had a guest on, and he said, I drive up past in San Francisco, and I can see it. I guess it's when you're driving past the highway. There's this lot with, they keep adding these refrigerator trucks every day, and he said they're full of bodies.
Yeah. The morgues in California have been maxed out. Yeah, absolutely.
They're maxed out. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to cremate because it pollutes the air really bad, and so. Yep, they're all on ice. Yeah.
Yep, they are. Yeah, well, unfortunately, they believe there was a variant that occurred in California that made it much more infective. So that's why they think California, two things. They think the variant there was highly more infective than the other variants that were spreading around the country. And then there were a lot of communities within California that opened too early and didn't follow the guidelines. And it spread like wildfire. Like all my friends that were in California said, even though we had stay-at-home orders, she said nothing closed. She said they just weren't public about being
everybody
open.
was following Trumpism. Get out there.
She said nothing closed.
Don't let them take away your rights. You're dead now.
Yep. They didn't close down. It wasn't like New York. When New York did the stay-at-home orders, everybody listened, and our numbers immediately came down, like within weeks. Within 2 weeks, the numbers started coming down. But in California, they issued the orders, but people didn't follow them, and the police didn't enforce them. And so, the outbreak just got ridiculous to, at one point in L.A., they instructed the ambulances. They made the ambulance drivers do triage on people's lives. They instructed the ambulance drivers that if they felt like someone wasn't going to survive, Don't bring them to the hospital. Let them die. Can you imagine being an ambulance driver and being instructed? You're supposed to save lives, and you're told if this person doesn't have a chance or will probably die, and you have to make that judgment to just let them die and leave them alone.
Well, I'm watching a lot of my doctor shows, and that's what's going on. They say they do not resuscitate because when you do the CPR on them, or you press down on their heart and keep it going, it pumps out, even though the people, the personnel are in the room and they've got their full suits on, it pumps out the virus, and it could infect them and kill, the personnel. So they say, nope, you can't, you're not allowed to, you can shock them, but you can't do CPR because of the, so they're showing it now. See, these shows kind of got backed up because of COVID, but somehow they're able to film now. So we're getting these doctor shows back, and now they're going back and talking about, well, now, because they have these protocols, and they're going back in time and picking up where they left off, because they left off in 2020 because they couldn't finish, a lot of them couldn't finish their series, right? So they picked off where they left off, and so it's pretty dramatic when you watch it. They have these people that are in the COVID ward, the ones that are working with them, and they're behind glass, and they go over to like the window. These hospitals have glass. My hospital doesn't have that. They have doors, so you'd have to walk in. But apparently they have some areas where they have glass set up between the rooms. And so whoever's working with, they've got him with a full suit, and they'll go over and write on the window to the people outside, or they'll put notes so you can read from the other side. And it talks about the status of the person. And some of the hospitals, they all have everything on their phones or their iPads, right? So they get the updates. Here's this person. Here's their oxygen level. If it gets below such and such, they're going to have to. They say bag them. They bag them when they put the oxygen on them, and they start pumping the air, and they bag them, and then they have to intubate. So they keep track of that. But most people that get intubated die, and so that's also they have some people that are nurses, and they know I'm going to get intubated, and I've just seen 3 or 4 dozen people die once they're intubated, and so they're really like saying to the person that's coming up to them to put that tube down their throat, they're saying, they're crying, they're going, I'm not coming back. Goodbye, you're the last person I see. And so there's a lot of empathy and compassion with the person that has to intubate and the person that's getting intubated, and they don't get to say goodbye to their loved ones. And, God, we could do a whole show on this. We've done a half hour.
I know. Huh?
So it's really, really sad. I don't know why people are so stupid. Oh, and on elephantsinourourooms.com, elephants plural in our plural rooms with .com, I put up the Spanish flu. I put up I researched this. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was awful.
This is going to be the same thing. And they had, around the turn of the last century, we only had about 3 billion people. And they lost, here it is, between 20 and 50 million, but they're really looking at, and there are estimates, the conservative side is 17 million to a possible high of 100 million. So we have 3 times the population. So how many people died in World War II? Yeah, how many? This is going to be way more than World War II. This is World War III. It already is. This is the COVID wars. And our enemy this time is a virus.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. How many? Okay. Oh, yeah. So there were 70 to 85 million people lost in World War II. So 100 million people is a possible estimate of how many died with the Spanish flu, and we've got 3 times the population. So we might have 300. We could have more, 500 million. Who knows? Who knows? So,
well, it all depends on what these variants do, right?
Right. And if we can, really put a lid on it, get it working. So I haven't been offered the vaccine yet. About, I don't know, half a mile from me, there was a a housing, low-income housing area. And those people love to go down to the beach and shoot off fireworks. So now those people are all sick and dying. And so, Harbor Lights, it's called Harbor Lights in Maui, and it was a real hot spot. So for some reason, I've got added to an app, and it pops up with people who are dying all the time in Maui. It's like, oh, God, how did I get signed up for that? But it just pops in my phone. These people died. These people got sick. I didn't realize that many people died in Maui every day. Woo. So, and it's not all COVID, but I think what it's affecting is people's nerves and their relationships, and some people are going McDonald's, Fidelistic Post Office, right? And there was a elderly husband and wife. They were both in their mid to late 90s, and the one killed the other, and then they killed themselves. So those types of things are happening. Yep, in Maui. Pops in my phone. Husband, wife, suicide, murder. I think the husband was 97, the wife was 95. And then there was another couple, old couple too, and they died within hours of each other. Because some people are so connected that when one dies, the other one dies.
Right. Yeah.
So, anyway, so let's go to something else if we're done with that topic.
Well,
but I
we
have
can
this
talk
page.
about the Capitol riots. They're now finding evidence of a conspiracy.
I know. Why don't you tell me what you found out, and then I'll share what I found out.
So the FBI has now been digging. They've been digging into all the communications amongst these different groups, like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. They've definitely found evidence of a conspiracy with the Proud Boys. So the ones that are being identified are now being charged with conspiracy. 2 were just charged with conspiracy in the last 48 hours. And now they're looking at the connections between these different right-wing groups. And get this. So that rally that preceded the riot, 80% of it was financed by a member of the family that owns the Publix grocery stores. Have you ever shopped at a Publix? They're down south, like in Florida and South Carolina and Georgia.
What are they called?
Publix. Publix, I think, or CX or something like that.
Publix grocery store. It's a grocery store chain.
Yeah. So one of the Harrises of that family donated like $300,000 to the rally, and she tried to be anonymous, and she got outed today. And now people are calling for a boycott of the grocery store, and the family's trying to distance themselves from her and saying she's not an employee of the store and they didn't have anything to do with it. And, it's family money and her wealth comes from that store. And guess what will happen? You're going to see the end of your business. And the head of Goya, the CEO of Goya, his family censored him. He has been a huge Trump supporter, and he said something else about these riots the other day. And the family members all sit on the board of Goya, and they forbid him to speak to the public anymore because their business has been so affected by the comments he's made in support of Trump and the riots. So they're now finding connections to all these people.
Go ahead.
And if they get charged with conspiracy, you're going to see people do years in prison behind this. And the FBI is going to make examples of these people to make sure this never happens again.
They have to, because this is the end of the democracy. This is not like let's sit back and just let them, get it out of their system. No, they're out to kill people.
Yeah.
I need to do better at documenting this. I kind of got lax the last couple of weeks, but we're gonna grab all these articles and get them up there as soon as we can on elefantsinOurrooms.com, where we're kind of documenting this. But I heard in one thing I either read or watched that they were trying to find where everybody was hidden, all the Congress and senators, and they were going to gas them to death. They were just going to gas them. Kill them all.
They were going to gas them. They were going to shoot them. They were going to gas them. They were going to do all kinds of things.
They were going to, well, if they got them, they were going to shoot them. Some of them they were going to hang. Pence, they were going to hang. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, when I watched the Last Man on Earth, guess who was the president when the pandemic hit? Remember, this was made in 2014. Mike Pence. They had him as the president in that fictitious future.
Really?
They had Mike Pence. They were off, but they were pretty close. That was in 2014. I guess Trump wasn't really campaigning until 2015.
2015.
So,
yeah.
So in 2014, they had Mike Pence, and then they said, somebody said, certainly it was just like conspiracy. They go, well, of course the president has, an antidote. The president has to have the vaccine. And it goes, and they said, well, here's the funeral of Mike Pence. So in that scenario, Mike Pence died, and he did not have it. But that's what we wondered for a while there. Why was Trump acting so cocky and arrogant? Did he have a secret vaccine? I mean, that's still possible. But, okay, so, and they're connecting the reason why people are so wonky and conspiracy-based is because this pandemic is making everybody go cuckoo. We've had clients calling us up and saying, are you still doing counseling? And so my husband, we said, sure, he'll come out of retirement, and he did a 2 hours test. And, I wasn't there. I let him do his therapy because I was trying to recover. My websites all got hacked. Thank you, whoever did that, asshole. Anyway, so and I said, what's going on? And they said, well, they're going COVID crazy, right? So they've separated.
Yeah.
And, and I have friends, and, I'm a therapist, and they're calling me up, and these people are all going COVID crazy. So this is destroying our whole society. Now we've got people that think it's nothing, like this, what's her name? What is that lady's name? Margaret. What's her name?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she loves it that she's getting famous. She does.
Yeah, absolutely. Gives her a platform.
Right.
Gives her a platform. She's a royal nut job. How she ever got elected, I will never understand. She makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, who elected this woman? She's so incompetent. What?
Why are people voting for this? Why are people voting for QAnon? Why are people so hungry to believe that? I've been in the conspiracy UFO business since, for 30 years. And it used to be kind of fun. 911, right? It was kind of a little hobby, and nobody was radicalized to go kill anybody else. Well, yes, it happened, but it's them, and we're all Americans, and we're all together, kumbaya. Now it's like it must be like what it was like before the Civil War. I feel like we are preparing for a Civil War, and I've been in chats, and I won't name names, where people have said, they're rooting for Civil War. And I go, you're really rooting for a Civil War? Do you realize what that means? Oh, yeah.
They don't.
We'll drain the swamp.
No, they don't. They don't understand. To have war on your own land, they don't. They don't understand the ramifications of what they're saying. And that's not good for anyone. You know, that's not rational thought. But what you have is a segment of the population who believes they're right and they're entitled, and anybody who doesn't believe like they do is the enemy, and they think they don't have any rights. And I think, you know, you're watching the GOP being taken over by the radicalization of the right wing. And I'm not saying all Republicans believe this, because they don't. You know, there's a segment of the Republican Party that is appalled by what is going on, and by GOP members. Yeah.
But they have to grow terror. They can't just roll over and say, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job unless I support terrorism. I mean, really, it's almost like a moral dilemma, right? It's an existential moral dilemma, and you have to pick and choose who you are, and risk it and say, no, I am, for consciousness, for love, for spirituality, and I reject everything that's less than that, because if you go down that road, even the slightest bit, it's seductive and it takes you, and next thing you know, you're a QAnon wingnut.
Well, I'm wondering if it's time for a third political party in this country, right? Because you've got the extreme right and the extreme left, which represent minority segments of the population. And I mean minorities in terms of numbers, right? Not race of people or gender of people. And then you have, you've got about 10 or 15% of the right wing that's extreme. You've got 10 or 15% of the left wing that's extreme. And then you have the rest of us that kind of sit in the middle, right? Like, I'm not Democrat or Republican. There's some things about, the Republican Party I like, about like their approach to small government. And there's things about the Democratic Party I like. There's a lot of things about the Democratic Party I disagree with, and there's a lot of things about the Republican Party I disagree with. So I think it's time for a purple party. That's what I call what the new political party should be. Purple party.
Purple party. Well, I was raised Republican, and I voted Republican. I think I actually voted for Nixon. It's like embarrassing, right? It's like, oh my God. I voted for Reagan. I mean, I voted for these people. Now, when I was little, I would vote to please my daddy. I've always been my daddy's girl, and even when I was grown, I was my daddy. And so I never thought it really mattered much what I voted, and so I just wanted to please my daddy. But, I'm grown up now, and I just go, oh, shit, I've got to pay attention. No, I don't see, right now, I look at platforms, and I don't see anything on the Republican side that is worth supporting. And I kind of get pretty black and white here.
Small government is worth supporting. In this day and age of technology, there is no excuse why we have a government the size we do. You could probably, if you adopted the right technologies, eliminate about 50% of the employees in government and still have a very efficient run government, and then reduce our taxes at the same time. That's the one thing that I do agree with the Republican Party, is government's gotten too big. You know what I mean? And it's like, when you don't have enough money, you have spending. Government never cuts back its spending.
Well, let's look at that. Let's look at how the government got too big. So we're looking at streamlining and making Medicare for all one payer, one system. In other countries, and most of they have one, and that eliminated hundreds of thousands of employees. So if you really want to look at it from that perspective, is how do we eliminate big government? You would think all the Republicans would be in back of that one, because that eliminates big government. No, they're not. Republicans are not in back of Medicare for all. They're fighting it.
No. Well, no, but they are. They do support. Well, hold on.
What do they support?
Medicare
There was
for
no
all.
Platform.
Well, you have to remember they want to get
Medicaid for all.
No, Medicare, not Medicaid. Medicaid sucks. It's awful, and most doctors don't take it.
Oh, I had Medicaid.
And
I had Medicaid, and it was wonderful. It didn't cost me a penny, and I had great care. The only thing I didn't have under Medicaid is that well, I had it 2 years ago, or about a year ago. Like, they just got cut off. The only thing I didn't like is when I was in the hospital, and my roommate was very noisy. And I said, "Can I get into another room?" And they said, "Lady, you don't have private insurance. You got there it is." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to get better if I don't sleep." Anyway, there was no sleep for 10 days. Talk about going crazy. No sleep for 10 days. No, anyway, so I guess we shouldn't go into the nuances, but from my understanding, under Trump, they had no solution for the medical system.
No.
All they had was complaining about it and trying to eliminate it. And if you remember, before we got what we got back in the 2006, 7, 8, before whatever Obama got through, which wasn't the best thing, but that was a Republican program, and that was a compromise. Back then, the Democrats and Republicans, they were able to compromise, so they came up with whatever that real name is. They labeled it Obamacare because they always want to make things bad, but that was a compromise between the both parties, and so it was just supposed to be a space holder till they could come up with the next better thing. Now, meanwhile, while we're sitting there, fighting over all this, all these other countries are developing wonderful healthcare systems that are, and they're just zooming past us, and we're stuck back in this. So yeah, I don't think really the current system we have of government. We need governance. More localized support and those type of things. But just know, you should be the fly on the wall in my house. There's a lot wrong with the total government system. But
yeah, absolutely.
You have to go outside of this box if you're going to have a governance system that actually works. We're dealing with a system that deals with politics, and nothing actually works that great. If you were a extraterrestrial species and you were coming in and now doing an analysis like what kind of system would you give to the world in the United States, you would do something far more efficient, which is, eliminate politics altogether. There's really no need for politics. That's why I like the AI agenda that they think the world's going to. Just as one aspect of it. I don't think it's, good to be bored, but they are very efficient in that society where they give a problem to a computer who has all the input of all the variables, right? So you have 9 billion people and all their needs, and it goes to computers beyond the ability of a human to compute what would be the win for all, right? But a computer with all the information of the 9 billion people it needs to service would come out with the optimal solutions for every problem we have. And I talked to the late, great William Tompkins, who wrote Selected by Extraterrestrials, and I just got to hang out with him for a long, 4-day weekend right before he died 2 weeks later, and he would just come up to me and he touched my hand. It was so sweet. And he said, "Look at me. What? Look at me in the eyes. What? You must remember this." I go, "Okay, Bill, what do you remember?" And he worked in the secret government. He said, "We solved every single problem there ever was, not with computers, but we storyboarded it. It was a 1 foot high by 40 foot long storyboard. And if you put everything out, this is how humans operate. If you put everything out so they can see all the variables," and I think this is going to be longer than my room. I've got a 35-foot big room here. And if you follow that thread, your mind will be able to solve, he said, every single problem we had, including how to get to the moon, everything. They had solved it all back. And so we can solve these problems, but we're too busy playing politics to really get into a solution, and we're too busy playing profit to get into solutions. So
well, I don't know if it's just politics and profit. It's power, right? You get
and
these
power,
politicians that
PPP
get into office and they get power, and it's all about what's good for them, not what's good for the people, right? And our system of government doesn't work. Like I read this book one time. I was always fascinated by it. And in there, the only people that could win political office were people who didn't want the job, right? And if you didn't want the job and you didn't campaign and people elected you, in the book, it always played out that the people generally did a good job because they were trying to truly help the people. You know, they weren't doing it because of power. What we have now is a bunch of people in power who refuse to work together. And, you know, they make the division amongst our people even worse, not better. And based on all the people that are sitting in Washington, I don't see that getting any better. Do you? They're not trying to work together. They have no interest in working together.
We've lost that altruistic aspect of ourselves that we really want to come in here and make the world better than when we came in.
Yeah.
See, I was telling my husband the other day, we're doing a little bit of therapy, and I said, you know, when I came in here when I was a little girl, and I would go over to at my uncle's farm. There was a big cemetery. And I'd go, and I would disappear for hours. I don't know why my parents weren't looking for me, but I'd go wander over to the cemetery, and I'd walk there, and I would stand tombstones, and I would get, what do they call that, psychometry. I would get all the information of the people who lived there, who were in that grave, right? And I said, after that, I said, I really want to leave this world a better place than when I came in. And that was like my whole mantra. That's why I became a little hippie chick, right? I'm here to make this world a better place. If we had that attitude that this is not about me, not about my ego, not about profit, not about power, but about, you know, creating a better world for everybody, and it starts with self, and it really is an attitude. It's an attitude adjustment. And you can notice yourself having these thoughts about greed and power and judging other people, prejudice and racism, and you can stop yourself in the tracks and go, you know, that's programming, and I'm not doing that. I'm going into my highest self. I am my highest level of consciousness, and I'm choosing love, compassion, empathy, a win for all. You know, tired of doing the Jesus thing where some poor person climbs up on a cross, you know, and they die for real. No, there's a win for all where nobody has to die, and it's an archetype, it's a paradigm, it's an attitude.
I think it's about coming from a place of grace, and I don't mean in religious terms, right? I mean coming from a place of grace for being thankful for whatever it is you have, right? Not dwelling on the stuff that you don't have, but and then service to others, right? Random acts of kindness. If there's something you can do to make something a little better for someone else, and I'll give a perfect example. I was going to court one day, and it was raining, and I had parked in the parking lot, and I had an umbrella, and I was walking to court, and there was this girl, this young girl. She couldn't have been more than 20, and she had a baby that couldn't have been more than 2 on her hip, and it was pouring, and it was cold, and, you know, the rain was getting in the baby's face, and she was trying to rush to the bus, and I immediately handed her my umbrella. I'm like, here, take this. And she goes, I can't take this. I said, please take it. I said, protect yourself and the baby. I said, I have a hood I can put over me. I said, take it. And she was so shocked that a stranger just did this, right, out of nowhere and said, here, take this umbrella. But, you know, and I didn't care anything about it. And she probably was just, no one had ever done that before, right, that someone sees that her and the baby are uncomfortable and, you know, they did something to just make them a little bit more comfortable. And anything that you can do in service to someone else and help someone else, regardless of how big or small it is, try to do it. You know what I mean? Try
to do it. Be more like that.
Yeah.
I can remember going through a parking lot, and it was back in nickel back then. And I would run around and put nickels into, you know, when their meters were expiring. You know, I didn't expect a thank you. It was like, oh, I'm just going to go help these people because they might be running late. They might get stuck somewhere. They're trying to get out of the cash register or whatever, and I just did it. And I felt good about myself, but I think that giving is powerful. It's more powerful than receiving. Being able to give people and not having that thing. I feel embarrassed when people are like, "Oh, thank you, you're so what?" No. It's not about me. It's just
I don't need that.
Kindness. Yeah, I don't need that. I'm just grateful I could give to you.
It's like my brother being sick, right? I'm out of a job. I'm sitting up in New York. It's going to be wintertime. I'm not doing anything. And, he's getting treated in a city that's different from where he lives. And I'm like, I'm going to come there. I'm going to help you, right? At some point, you're going to get really sick and you're going to need help. And he was just so shocked that I was willing to just drop my life and do that. And he goes, I really appreciate, you doing this. And I'm like, how could I not do it, right? I'm in a position to help, and your life is on the line. How could I not do it? Like, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't do it, or at least didn't try.
Mhm. Well, he's very lucky to have you in his life. Very, very lucky. That's wonderful that you're able to do that. So everybody can do that. We all have those opportunities in our lives when we can do things for somebody else. And it doesn't have to be so huge like you doing. I mean, that's wonderful you're doing it, but giving up your whole life. But you're in a position where you can do it.
It, right. I could have been selfish and sat at home, right, and not done anything to help. Or, I could try and make a difference. Maybe it might not make a difference, but at least I tried, right?
Right. Wow. Now I didn't get to read this. Where is that? I saw it. We want to thank you. Somebody apologized. Here it is. Ex-QAnon follower to Anderson Cooper. I apologize for thinking that you ate babies.
You ate babies. Yeah, that was one of the rumors in the QAnon world that Anderson Cooper ate babies.
Oh, poor Anderson ate babies. I thought it was just everybody was a Democrat or everybody was a
No,
everybody.
They think there's a cabal.
All the celebrity
a cabal,
Democrats eat babies.
A cabal of pedophiles that are entrenched in government, that prey on children, that sexually assault them and eat them. That's what is at the basis of QAnon theories. And it was just started by some random idiot. But
on that show, go ahead. Your turn.
No, finish your thought.
Oh, it was on this show called The Good Fight, and I highly recommend it. I think it's on CBS. I can do the streaming and binge it.
It hasn't come back. It hasn't finished its season and come back.
But what they did was they showed how they can just make up shit. They make up whatever they want. They go on these sites. They get picked up.
Yep.
And picked up, and then they become stories. And because it's on the internet, people think it's real.
Believe
and
it.
A lot of this stuff about this goes back to David Icke. And I don't know if you remember who David Icke is, but he was going around in the late 90s and the early 2000s. He said that the British royals and the Queen are all shape-shifting reptilians. And then he said that they have these rituals and they kill babies and eat the blood and, have sex on the altar. And it kind of goes back with, and then people think, well, it goes back to Aleister Crowley, and they used to do this. And so they start amassing an army and gathering information to, quote, unquote, prove that they're right, and this is absolutely positively what's going on. And then they have Diana, because she said, those royals, they're absolutely lizards, and so it keeps gathering these stories, and it grows bigger and bigger. And so let me just say this: what Anderson Cooper, did you at the time believe that high-level Democrats and celebrities were worshiping Satan and drinking the blood of children. And this guy, former QAnon guy, says, Anderson, I thought you did that, and I would like to apologize for that right now. So I apologize for thinking that you ate babies. But yeah, 100%, Cooper. But you actually believe that I was drinking the blood of children. Q guy. Yes, I did. Cooper. Was it something about me that made you think that? Q guy. That's because Q specifically mentioned you, and he mentioned you very early on. He mentioned you by name, and from there, if he also talked about, like, say, for example, your family. But, yeah, I'm going to be honest. People still talk about that to this day. There were posts about that just 4 days ago. So some people thought you were a robot. Cooper, you really believe this? Q guy. I didn't just believe that. I, at one stage, believed that QAnon was part of military intelligence, which is what he says. But on top of that, that the people behind him were actually a group of fifth-dimensional, interdimensional, extraterrestrial, bipedal bird aliens called Blue Aliens. I was so far down in this conspiracy black hole that I was essentially picking and choosing whatever narrative that I wanted to believe in. Okay, so, and of course the Blue Aliens is Corey Good. So you see all these little stories about people, and they get lumped into it, and it's like evidence and more evidence, and then it's out there, and they read it, and they are attributing it to the algorithms of Facebook. Who was it I caught yesterday? Oh, it was the Apple guy. I think it was this morning. He
Cook.
just busted Facebook. Tim Apple.
Saw that.
Or Tim Cook, he said.
Tim Apple, that's what Trump calls them.
yeah, Tim Apple. Tim Apple. And he said, you created this algorithm that once somebody went onto that, they kept getting fed more and more links.
Disinformation.
Click.
Yep.
And now you've got these mind-controlled Q guys, the Q nuts are mind-controlled. They're like they got bored, and they're so far down that they don't, it's just not compute. It's like the robots. They're the robots, but they're accusing Anderson of being a robot. Anyway, that was interesting.
No, Anderson doesn't eat children. And QAnon conspiracies are all lies. But, you've got a segment of people that believe it, and they feel like they're in the know, that they know things that other people don't know. But they're believing everything they read on Facebook. And they're like, oh, well, I go to multiple sources. Well, what kind of multiple sources do you go to where they're all saying the same thing, right? Like, it makes you wonder what's wrong with people that they cannot separate fact from fiction.
Yeah. So what happened to our planet? That people are so gullible that they just believe everything. They're not very discerning. They don't think about.
No.
Does that really make sense?
No.
But to me, I think the only thing that makes sense is that it is an extraterrestrial. They must be the what do you call it? Not the reptilians, the other ones, the interdimensional. They are going to take over the planet because this stuff that we're doing to each other is not human. It's not humane. It's not kind. So you're left with somebody else.
Let me say this about ETs, right? If ETs have the technology to come here from another planet or another solar system or from another galaxy, they've got the ability to take over this planet, and they haven't, right? If they wanted to, they could, and they haven't. So there's nothing to be afraid of. And God, if you were an ET looking down at this planet, would you want anything to do with us? Because I damn sure wouldn't.
Hell no. Too crazy. Or
I'm like,
their television.
These beans are nuts. Let's get out of here.
Well, maybe this is their entertainment. Look at these crazy people. Look at humans believe. Don't believe anything.
I think that's what they're doing. I think they're watching us, right? Hoping that we'll get better and elevate ourselves, but sadly recognizing that we may not. We may never. But I will say this. If you think about what humans were like even 100 years ago or 200 years ago, we are better than what we were, right? And if you think about
In
how we
some
were
ways.
500 years ago. But no,
yeah.
we are.
Well,
When you think about it, as bad as we think things are, when you look back in our history, we're not as bad as we were. We have changed. Granted, we're changing slowly. Yes. Granted, we're changing slowly, and maybe it's not fast enough for everyone, but how long does it take a species or a society to evolve, right? I've always found things move slowly, not fast, right? Change is incremental. It's very small and slow.
They do both. There's some things that happen so fast, like the internet. I mean, that's just like a blink in time. And there's some things that are slow. But I can remember reading a whole series of historical novels. And back then, in like around the year 1000, you know, if you went to the market, it was a good chance you would get killed either coming or going or you know, while you were at the market, because there were always invading forces, other tribes that would come in and you know, wipe you out. And then I'm thinking, well, that's changed. We don't have that happening. But then I remember about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, those people were just shopping in Walmart. And then all of a sudden they're in a shootout and everybody's getting shot everywhere. So just when you think things have changed, sometimes things don't change at all. And so you never know when you get shot going to the market. So it would be nice if we had a world where you wouldn't get killed just going to the market. But that kind of, isn't it interesting? Now, I don't know if it's because there was just so much news and we weren't hearing all the levels of news, but remember how we were getting school shootings and all that stuff? And I guess part of it's because of the lockdown. But in 2020, you didn't hear a whole lot about that type of terrorism that we used to have almost every 2 weeks. You'd have another episode of a. They're not in school. They're not gathered in nightclubs. And so
we're not gathered in groups anymore, so there's nobody to shoot up. But trust me, once we start gathering in groups with all this extremism, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't get worse.
I'm kind of.
It's not terrorism, though. When you think about these mass shootings, what's at the heart of every one of these incidences is mental illness. We have a mental health crisis in this country. We do not have a system that facilitates helping people who are mentally ill. We have a system that facilitates milking their insurance, but it doesn't facilitate truly helping them, right? And every one of these people that has been involved, that has been a mass shooter, is mentally ill. The issue and the problem is not the guns. The issue and the problem is untreated mental illness. And the way our laws are structured, you can't force someone to get help. You know what I mean? And it's hard to convince.
That's a good point. It's a good point you're making there. And, you know, when I'm sounding like my parents and grandparents. When I was a boy, so I was a little girl. We had mental hospitals. Now, I don't know if it was a good experience for people that were in the mental hospitals. I heard a bunch of horror stories there. But we didn't have the people wandering aimlessly without any kind of support system.
Exactly.
Including just freezing to death or burning up. You know, our planet is full of places that get too hot and too cold, right? And life is unsustainable. So when you have somebody living on the street and they have no escape from the heat and the cold, you know, you're basically, there's a certain percentage of those are going to die, every time the weather gets extreme. It's like a death sentence when you don't have a home for people. So when you were talking about our government too big, well, our government maybe isn't big enough because there's all these abandoned buildings. And even before COVID, when I was going down, I'd go to the mall, and then the mall was just empty, you know, and there was another mall. If we would just say, we're closing this mall, and we're going to make this, you know, they could take a nice mall and make a really nice facility for people to have places to live,
absolutely,
and a food court, and they'd be homeless, and then they're not homeless anymore. Or a broken down box store, you know, just reconfigure it, put a open up some walls and put some windows in, right?
Right. And prior to COVID, most people that end up being hopeless and living on the street, mental illness is a factor there as well, right? Usually people who are mentally ill often burn all their bridges, right, with everyone, all their loved ones and all their friends and family. And that's how they end up homeless. We have to rethink our systems. The one thing that COVID taught us is our systems are completely broken, right? They're profit-driven. Yeah. They don't work, right? They're not altruistic. They're not really there to help people. They're there to separate people from their money. And we have to rethink this. We have to start coming up with systems that truly help people. Like you said, there's all these empty schools, all these empty buildings, all these empty malls. Why can't they be turned around into something to start helping these people? Let's think of a new system. Let's think outside the box. But for whatever reason, our society is incapable of doing it, and it just takes the will to do it.
Well, because of greed. Because the basis of our society is greed and based in money oriented.
Profit,
It's not about solutions. Let's solve a problem.
Right.
With the housing problems. Right now we have people that aren't getting evicted. There's a moratorium on evictions. And it's very interesting. What if we just gave everybody a house? Everybody just gets
wouldn't it?
And it could go into a big database. And if you want to move, you're in the database, and you can just swap it out for another house. But you'd have a basic standard of this is a house, and it has a bedroom at least, 120 square feet or something. You could have some basic standards for these things that you would have as the basic right for a human being, so they could live with dignity, beauty, and grace. And then, maybe when you're 18, you automatically go on the registry. Here's all the housing available across the planet. They can standardize it so it's as good to live anywhere as it is anywhere else. Once you get over all this war and competition, and we're going to kill you because you're green or purple or you're, some kind of person with 3 genitals or something. Every time somebody's different, they want to kill them, right? So there are
I think it goes back to the argument of the minimum basic income, right? That Andrew Yang was proposing. That when people are homeless and they don't have a job, they're spending every waking minute trying to figure out a safe place to stay and how they're going to get food. So take care of those 2 things for people, and then it gives them the opportunity to figure out how to elevate their life, right? And universal minimum basic income, you're not getting rich off of it, right? But at least you're not worrying about where you're going to live and how you're going to feed yourself. And everybody wants a better life than what they have, right? So take away those worries, all right? And then they have the time and the opportunity to figure out what's next and how to elevate their life. But we're not doing that. And we're a wealthy world, not just a wealthy nation. This is a wealthy world. We should not have people on this planet starving. There's no reason for that. And we've got to get away from this thought that money is our God, right? Granted, there's a lot of different systems, and I know the capitalistic system is probably one of the better ones, but the divide between the rich and the poor is growing. During this pandemic, we've had a tremendous growth of people that are losing their homes, that have no way to feed themselves, that are in food banks for the first time. And you have the top people, the trillionaires, gained how many billions over the course of the pandemic? How about you guys stop taking those billions? Why don't you turn around and give them to these people? Start solving these ills.
You take that 1% of the the billions that you raised in addition because of the pandemic, and you put it into taxes or whatever, but make it designated for housing. So put it in taxes. We're going to give everybody a free home. Everybody could have a free home. Everybody could have free education. Remember that one millionaire that was running for president, and he spent enough money that he could have given every American person $1 million. He spent so much money he could have spent. He could have just given everybody $1 million. Imagine if you put $1 million into the pockets of every human alive in the United States. That would I mean, people are going to spend it, right? They're going to buy houses. That would just boost the economy. And we would have an incredible economy because people are not going to hoard it. They're going to do the things they always wanted to do, right? So that was kind of a waste of money.
Stimulus of the pandemic made the argument for universal basic income. It kept the economy from cratering. People went out and spent that money.
There's talk about that.
Yeah.
There's talk about it again about let's give everybody, I thought I saw $2,000 a month until the pandemic is over.
Pandemic is over.
And
yes.
And I think if you look at it logically, people are not going to sit there and hoard $2,000. They're going to spend it.
They're going to spend it. Absolutely.
And if everybody that qualified that made under $70,000, I guess it is something like that, got $2,000 a month for the next 6 months, they're gonna fix up their house and get a car and stock up the refrigerator, buy a new freezer, whatever. They're gonna meet their basic needs.
Yes.
And so, or maybe they'll take a trip. Who knows? If we could make it safe enough, we could have. I'm over here in a world of tourism, and tourism is, well, we did open up and we got a lot more COVID. You open up, you get COVID. It doesn't. It's because people are not wearing masks.
Are you guys still open, or did they shut Maui down again?
I don't go anywhere. Oh, let's see. Is Maui shut down again? I don't even know. We had, like I said, a huge cluster right down the bottom of the hill. Let's see. Are we shut down? I don't know. No, I don't see anything current. Here's Maui Galva. Are we shut down? Sasha pays attention to that. But he told me this morning, he says, the beaches are empty. They have shut down beaches because, you could go to, you used to be able to go to like Little Beach or the Drumming Beach and you get the local culture and everybody bring their drums and they would dance and this and that. But they just turned into hotspots because people don't wear masks, right? So you've got to wear your mask. But, of course, Trump made it so if you wear a mask, then you're a traitor to the Republican Party because you're wearing a mask. Or you're going to be a mind-controlled clone because you're, heaven forbid that you try to contain the virus and not kill your neighbor. Heaven forbid. All right. Well, let's start wrapping it. We could talk forever, but I think we'll just keep this to like 90 minutes. So we touched on Marjorie Taylor Greene, COVID, the QAnon, the impeachment. That's not going to come
He's not going to get impeached.
February.
He's not going to get impeached.
But he should be. He should be impeached.
He should be, but the Republicans don't have the balls to impeach him. They're not going to impeach him. He's not going to get convicted. But the Democrats have to go through with the process to show that they tried to do something. So they will continue to do something. Now, he might get censured. There is a possibility that the Republicans might go for censure and not impeachment, but we'll see how this plays out.
Well, I have a different timeline that I'm accessing.
What's your timeline?
I'm going to see that the Republicans, that there are some real Republicans, not trumpets, but real Republicans in the Senate, I guess it's the Senate that's going to see these, but these will be publicized around the world. So when you see all the evidence and all the proof and all these witnesses, because this time we're going to see it, we're going to hear from them. They're not going to get censored like they were in the last impeachment. And anybody out there's got a heart is going to finally get what happened. And So when you get what happened and what could have happened, I hope those people out there that are the true Republicans, and not the Trumplicans, but the true Republicans who want to have their party back. I was Republican. It wasn't a bad thing to be, and I was Republican for, the first 20 years of my adult life, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Think about it. Yeah, 70, 89. In the 90s, I stopped voting for a while, and then when I came out the other end, I said, I'm not Republican anymore because I went into the policies and I am a humanitarian. That's what I am. I wish I was in the humanitarian party, but I'm a humanitarian. So I hope they grow a heart, and the heart gets big,
some of them have.
And they realize we have to. But after listening to this, when does this start? The impeachment starts. This is a big month. February is always a big month because it's my birthday month. But for some reason, the February is, we start with COVID last year, really became aware of it. When does the impeachment begin? So I hope, and I'm going to set this down, begin on 20. When does the impeachment begin? I'm going to see people, they're going to be in tears. They're going to say, we have to do something about this. And you're going to call, you people who are listening to this, you're going to call your senators and you're going to call your congresspeople and you're going to write and you're going to go on Twitter and you're going to say, you must impeach this man because this is just like the end of World War II. We had to condemn the Nazis and the atrocities that happened in the 4 years of World War II and a few years leading up to it. And we have to condemn that on the same level as we did World War II. And then we have a chance of maintaining our democracy, of having a democracy, of maintaining our souls, of clearing our karma. And then we can go into the Star Trekian reality, which is what I started out when I was 12 in 1966, where we are really in a society where we meet the needs of our people. We don't demonize them because they might be mentally deficient or whatever. We do everything to elevate every other soul. And when you elevate every soul on a planet, you elevate all the existence, all society. You go from a level 0 on the Cartership scale to a level 1 or higher conscious civilized civilization.
We're not even a 0,
literally
are
can go
we?
to the stars. We're
not even a 0.
To be a 0. But I think we're a -1. We're a -1, yeah. Okay, what is the picture? Give me that answer. Come on, don't give me an error message. Oh, God. Anyway, I think it's coming up in a week or two. Yeah, we're starting.
I thought it was the 14th.
I thought it was the 9th.
Is it the 4th or the... Hold on, let's see. Impeachment
I
trial.
thought it was the 19th.
No. Oh, I do have to say this. So, the head of the Proud Boys, Enrico Tarrio?
What about that? I didn't know his name.
He was a rat for the government. He turned witness for the government.
I heard about that.
He's a total rat. All that crap he talked, and he's trying to deny it. And there's FBI transcripts of him, turning witness for the government and giving up people. He was convicted of fraud, and so he gave up people to get out of punishment for the fraud, and now he's trying to deny it. So I thought, couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Well, that's how it works. So they've got the names of the people that showed up. My internet must be down or something. They got the names of the people that showed up, and they
February
walked up
8th.
and they went in
February
the building.
8th, the trial starts.
8th. Okay, February 8th. So they've got all those people because they've got facial recognition. They got all their faces because they were going around bragging and this and that. They've got all the people that were on all these chats. So what they were saying is they caught somebody it wasn't a lie. He said he was bragging. We were meeting it with Trump. See, Trump financed this. Trump financed this action. Trump. That's why he has to go. Trump. So anyway, we were in this meeting, and at the White House on the 5th of January, right, about the plot for how we were going to have this happen.
Right.
And then this guy who was in the meeting, then after it happened, he changed. He goes, "Oh, I was in Trump Hotel. I wasn't in the." So he was, but because the FBI can just get any thread and they can go back in time. See, once it's out there, it's out there. You can delete it. And,
yeah.
No, they can just go back to the one before. So everybody who participated in this act of treason, in this conspiracy, in this criminal enterprise, will eventually get caught. Because the more it's kind of like after the World War II, the Nuremberg trials, and we have much better technology now. They'll just go around and, the deeper this gets, the bigger this gets. It's like you were in this conspiracy to destroy the United States of America. And you're going to get arrested, you're going to get tried, you're going to get convicted. And they have to. You cannot do that. You have to love your country. And loving your country means, hey, you lost the election, and don't make up these stories about that. It was proven. This was not, this was just a sore loser who didn't want to give up power. He wanted to Putin, who has a lifetime appointment, and they're trying to do something with Putin now. And we'll see. This is like huge. The whole world is in turmoil everywhere. And Putin got himself in there. He was coaching our buddy boy Trump back in the 80s and 90s. He said, hey, you want to learn how to do this? Look, I'm dictator for life. Just watch me. Here's how you do it. Active measures, stochastic terrorism. These methods are Machiavellian, and they work. And they undermine a whole society, and the whole society ends up getting radicalized to the point they don't even know why they're doing it. They just hate. Because people like to hate, I guess. Ugh.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm all riled up. Okay. That's why I love these shows. I get to cathartic. Oh. Anyway. Let's wrap this up. We got 7 minutes. What else would you like us to tell our dear listeners? Dear listeners, thank you for putting up with us. Thank you for caring about us and loving us even though we're crazy. But we have a big heart, and we really want to see. I would like to see this whole world become a better place for everybody.
I think it will.
Go ahead.
Everybody thinks we're going down the toilet, we're on the verge of civil war. I think incrementally we will get better after this. Everything that's happened the last year has opened a lot of people's eyes. Granted, there's always going to be bad people on both sides, but I think the number of good people is growing. I think there's hope, and I don't think we should lose hope, right? And I think that's the best thing that I could say to people. Don't lose hope. This is going to get better.
And the other thing is, don't just sit there, do something. If you don't like what's going on, pick up your phone, have a conversation with your, the local government all the way up to, I go up and follow the threads of people, like Pelosi and all these people. I do they're too. Saying something, and I interject my 2 cents. And I see it get picked up, liked, and, it goes around, and I see people picking up the even some wording that I recognize. Oh, that was what I said. And they pick it up and they go with it. So we are not hopeless victims. We are powerful creatures that can influence the kingdom. And I wanted to say something, and then I'll give you the final word. I like diversity. I am so delighted to go on these, news programs, and there is so much diversity. I remember back in the 70s, it was like a big deal that we had a star being, a black person was in I Spy. It was big. Bill Cosby was in I Spy, and it's like it was a big deal to have a leading. And now it's like everywhere you go, you see incredible diversity And these are intelligent people. They're not just actors, spouting out words that they memorize, but they'll be on these shows, the news shows, and they're thinking, they're quick on their feet, and they're all races, colors, creeds, and orientations. And Pete Buttigieg is now head of something. He's in the cabinet, and I just love the diversity that's going on. I think it's so exciting.
I agree. I love the cabinet that Biden put together. He really made an effort to diversify the cabinet and have people from all walks of life, all genders, all races, all creeds, all colors. And I think it's going to be an interesting cabinet, and there's going to be a lot of positive things that come out of this. And
right.
Biden is not an extremist. Biden is not controlled by the extremist left. Biden is very middle ground, almost bordering on conservative. So don't give up hope. I think he's going to do a good job, and he surrounded himself with good, talented people, not politically appointed cronies who have no experience, right, just to give someone a job for helping him with the election. He did not do that. So give this administration a chance.
I think that's good, and yet I have a little bit of a different take. I think in order to make progress, we have to be progressive. And I think that we've had too many Republicans and Democrats all kind of being centrist, and they really don't get where we need to go in order to save this planet from the devastation we're encountering because of the pollution. So I would like to see a little bit more progress, a little bit more progressive, especially when it comes to ending our love affair with fossil fuels. And that means ending the pipelines and really going towards green energy systems and getting away from this. As long as I've been alive, gas has been king and ruled this planet, and that's why our planet is dying. And I work with the Secret Space Program people, and they all come out and they say to me, we already have interstellar travel and energy systems, and we have cures for all diseases. And so we've got to find people that are heading in that direction to create these technologies, to get beyond money-based reality, to go into like a basic minimum, not just needs economy, but a basic minimum, not income, but a basic minimum needs economy. What are the basic needs that each human being has in order to live a life that's healthy and happy? And I think life is about having fun sometimes, not just about coming here and just working until we work ourselves to death and we die before we're 100, but a life where we're conscious and happy and we, not just the pursuit of happiness, which is like a hamster on a wheel. I'm pursuing happiness. We got to get happiness. Be happy. I think it'd be awesome to actually be happy. All right, final word to you, and then I'm going to end this show because I think we've covered a lot. I don't want to overwhelm our poor listeners. We'll be back next week. Final word, Debra.
New year. We have the vaccines. We're going to get on the downside of this. Everybody keep hope alive. This is going to get better. Final word.
Yay. Final word. Wear double mask, and to make it fun, go get yourself some designer masks with fun things on it, and, make a game out of it. All right. Love you all. Much love and blessings, and aloha.
Aloha, everybody.